Wow. Well, that feels like a powerful exercise, and I'm gonna try to go home this weekend and try it, and I hope that you try it out in your own life. You have a lot more practical handles like this in a course that you just launched, or that you're launching momentarily, called the Foresight Academy.
Yeah.
And the Foresight Academy, from my diving into it, strikes me as just the sort of toolkit that ministers, that artists, that activists, that change makers can use to have, to create margin in our lives, to create space, to create choice, proactive choice in what we're doing. Could you share a little bit about what the Foresight Academy entails, how long does it last, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Foresight Academy, I built this around, again, my goal has been to take something that's been traditionally complex or relegated to the weirdos of us.
A bunch of nerds,
and, DOD or intelligence folks that, and to bring it and put it into the hands of regular, ordinary people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really want to simplify this and design this entire program around the 3 C's, right, for creating the future. There's actually a 4th C, that's the bonus, right?
Ooh.
Well, yeah, mystery. But I mean, it's if you say, what is somebody, in order to create the future, what characteristics does somebody have to have? Well, number 1 is they have to be conscious. Number 2 is curious. Number 3 is creative. And then number 4 is collaborative, right? So this entire program is a process that if you start in the beginning and go all the way to the end, the culmination of that is that you will have a powerful vision for the future that actually moves people to action. Quite literally. I don't mean like, this is great, let's put it in a book and stick it on a shelf. Because the whole process starts first with conscious, which is understanding your mindset. How do we need to think about the future? We're not starting with big data and AI and all that kind of stuff. We get into that. But I think too often folks jump to that and they have the foundation hasn't been set. So the foundation has to start with how we think. Recognizing, first, where does foresight come from? What is this? Did we just make this up or is it real? No, it's legit. Innovators, industry disruptors, intelligence agencies have been using this for decades.
It's one of the biggest vocations you've never heard of, but it's literally operating in the background of most of the things that are driving change
Absolutely.
today.
When you think of Google X, you think of, Ford has their own in-house futurist. Walmart has their own think tank. Anytime you hear think tank, Skunk Works, anything like that, these are futurists utilizing tools that they can drive and shape the future with. So that's number 1, is more of us need to be a part of that conversation. More people need to have those tools. So that's what this program is. So the conscious module really looks at the problem with predictions. It looks at the power of narratives, information overwhelm, how to really make that more of an information insight, pulling insight from that, and then getting personal with it too, really looking at who we are. That lays the foundation. That's the conscious module. That moves us into curious, because once you're conscious and you're able to recognize these narratives, recognize the things that we just thought, that's just the way it is.
Waking up to the matrix.
Yeah, exactly. I had somebody in the MBA class that they mentioned. They said, "Yeah, you're like Neo, or not Neo, but Morpheus." So you want to restrain ourselves from going off on a tangent here, but so once you're conscious, once you've really gone through that process, then you have the ability to ask better questions, and that's the curious module. Asking what else might be possible, right? Challenging these norms, challenging these things, and starting to identify how the future might unfold by looking at emerging trends and issues, and then seeing how they impact various facets of society. That's the context that we talked about. Create future context, then ask yourself the question, how do the people I serve fare in this future?
Yeah.
And if you can really focus on that, you have a better idea of what you need to be doing now. Once you're out of curious, conscious, you're curious, and then you can be creative. That's where you start getting your hands dirty. And you really start taking the tools of foresight, the things that we learned that a lot of these innovators and intelligence agencies use, the scenario building, the planning, all of that. Not all of it, because most of it you don't need, but the things that you do need to be effective.
Yeah.
That's when you start putting that into work and you start building powerful scenarios. You start aligning your actions with your true aspirations. Because again, a lot of us may say, this is my aspiration, and think we're aligned. But when you go through this exercise, you realize, oh, actually, no, I'm not.
Right, I'm saying one thing and I'm doing another with my life, generating needless stress.
Yeah, where are you spending your time, your energy, and your money? And most of that is going to be on things that are in a reactive state that you don't like, and not in the things that you want to see. So really getting clear on that. But then all of that culminates into that writing out of those stories, those scenarios.
Yeah.
Not just your business scenarios where they're like 3 or 4 lines and it's kind of this generic. And I'll say most scenarios I've seen are really generic. They're just, here's the industry and this and that. But you write a very vivid story, vivid picture, which you do really well, which, both of us come from the creative writing background, doing that.
Yeah.
And of course, the folks that are watching this, as you've mentioned, a lot of them are artists, they're creatives.
Yeah, storytellers. Absolutely.
Let it rip. Tell the story. That's what I say.
Preach it.
Yeah, but your story isn't just pulled out of thin air. You have worked through a process all the way up where your story, you can trace it right back to where we are right now. That's what moves people to action. The next part of that is getting into collaborative, and that's really about creating a culture of foresight, because it's not like you write these powerful stories and then it's done. You write these stories and then you start to invite other people to take ownership in them.
Yeah.
Because if I can get up here and present to you a future that I can track back to where we are right now there's it's this tether. Most of the time we see future visions, in the next 50 years we'll be this, this, and this. How did you get there? They don't tell us.
Right.
So instead of telling you what the future is going to be, you've now been able to go through a process of seeing what the future could be, several possibilities, but you have a tether back to the present day. That's what moves people to action.
Yeah.
That's what does it.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. I'm actually listening to a great audiobook right now by a guy named Charles Eisenstein, and it's called The Ascent of Humanity. And it looks at the failed promises of technology. And as you're saying what you're saying, I'm actually thinking it might be a failed application of foresight, because he was making the case that starting with the innovation of steam and coal power, there were these cultural visions of the future that said, we're going to have more leisure time. But instead, people went from working on the farm where they worked hard, but they had genuine seasons off and leisure time, to being packed in the factories, all to serve this vision where they allegedly had more leisure.
Yeah.
And then with each technological innovation, there's been this sort of assumption that it's going to create more margin in our lives, more leisure in our lives, but we end up serving the beast. And it makes me wonder if we had this sort of expanded application of what creating a collaborative foresight culture, so that it's not just the lone wolf out there having to shoulder the vision all by themselves. We're actually creating this participatory, collaborative culture where we don't have to go it alone, where we're all in this together.
Absolutely. And because so many ministers and people that are working in faith communities, that are watching this, that's a perfect example, because so much of, I think, the why you're doing what you're doing is based on an old model of hierarchy. Is that you feel like, well, if you're the pastor, you're the leader, it all rests on your shoulders.
Right.
Just think about Jesus, right? Did he ever give a straight answer on anything? No. So why do we feel like we have to?
Yeah.
Why do ministers feel like they have to? No, he just kicked it back with another question.
Right, yeah. Speaking of the curiosity piece, I just spent time last week for this nonprofit that I'm launching, working with a consultant that uses similar skills. And we just really talked about how part of creating a truly amazing organization is asking better questions. That oftentimes we shut down the curiosity mode, and we suffer from a crisis of imagination. We don't have the imagination that can truly birth something grand within us and something collaborative. So even just that time of spending time with that curiosity module is so important.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So
So that's really what this entire program is designed to do. It's designed to empower you with the ability to think like a futurist. And that's not just here's cool technology, here's scenario planning. It's very personal, but its applications are wide-reaching, not just for your personal life, but your professional life. And the heart of it really is about how you can make a larger impact in the world. And as some people might say, well, it doesn't sounds really fluffy, whatever. The reality is all of us are driven, to contribute. We are social by nature. And that contribution is at a much larger scale, and I think most of us are confused because we're connected with people all over the world, and we don't know how to frame up our role and our contribution in the larger human story. But this is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Is that you have to step out of what you already know, and you have to start asking better questions. You have to recognize what drives you. And I want to point this out before I forget it, but I had a lady that's in the executive MBA program. She said, okay, but wait. If I start recognizing these narratives and I start questioning them, isn't all I'm doing is then using a new narrative to counteract this narrative? And I want to clarify this. Narratives aren't bad. Bias and assumptions, not bad.
Right.
It's human nature. It only becomes a problem when we allow that narrative, those assumptions, to lead us rather than serve us. And this is the problem we see right now in American politics. These harsh divides is we're allowing narratives or assumptions. We are serving them. They are not serving us. Understand biased assumptions are fine. I have them, you have them. The key is recognize them. That's why curious and conscious is so important. Because once you recognize them, you can challenge them. And when you challenge them, then you can get more clear on, like, is this just my assumption or is this based in reality? And so, yeah.
Well, so speaking of assumptions, I've spent an entire lifetime developing my own patterns of thought, my own habits of being, and it takes time to change a habit. How long does this course last? Is it enough time to like really begin to turn the rudder?
Yeah. So the course itself is 12 weeks long. Now, here's the difference. If you don't get it done in 12 weeks, it's fine. When somebody enrolls in this program, they have access to it for life, unless there's some massive meltdown of the systems and everything's.
Then you got bigger problems.
Then you got bigger problems.
Than not accessing Foresight Academy.
Yeah. But it's yours there for life. The tools, the videos, everything. It's all there. So it's a 12-week program, and during that time, when somebody's in this, I am very much involved in that. The videos are all shot. The materials are there. There's worksheets. They're fillable. I'm really proud of this too. So you don't have to print them off and write.
Oh, you can just like type
right into them.
Oh, wow.
So it's really accessible. You've got all that right there. Quick sheets, because let's face it, sometimes you're not going to have time to watch a 20-minute video or even want to look at my ridiculous face for 20 minutes. So it's like, what's the main points here? You take that.
And that's what MP3 versions are for too, right?
Yeah, and there's an MP3.
You got a face for radio.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So you got so you can listen to it on the go, but all of it, the way I designed it was so that you could take this and truly make it your own. So 12 weeks, but I'll be involved in that process as well. There's live coaching calls that are going on. So we'll actually be live. I will take your questions and we'll dive deeper into these tools. So I really want people to win in this program. I really want them to get it.
Are there forums where we can talk to each other?
Absolutely. Yeah, you become part of this forum, this other leaders and entrepreneurs that are in this community, because you're not just in your silo with other ministers or other folks, but you're actually interacting with leaders in the healthcare field, right? At the University of Tennessee, we have the executive MBA programs for strategic leadership and healthcare leadership, and then we have folks from all other kinds of industries and that are jumping into this. So we have a nice mix of people that are all driven to create the future together. So it becomes a forum, it becomes a discussion. I'm there really as just facilitating, but what comes out of that every single time is you see people making connections with each other that where they can go on and do who knows what. But that's really the goal there. So it's a 12-week process, but you have access to it for life. And then
that's awesome.
The other thing, of course, too, is that you're also getting your certificate in strategic foresight from the University of Tennessee.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
Yeah, I was going to name that explicitly. Like, this is not a cheap course. I think online courses these days are a dime a dozen, and sometimes you can go on websites and it's like $29, and you can be trained in X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
This is a real investment. And it's also something, though, that if you are part of a congregation or denomination or other kind of organization that has continuing education budget, I think it would probably be a no-brainer for that to be approved, because it is backed by a sort of legacy educational institution, University of Tennessee, right? As a part of their business program. So you get a certificate upon successful completion. It's something that you might be able to find creative funding sources for. I know for myself, the things that have benefited me most in life, sometimes I have to make some sacrifices for, but it can really be, it really is an investment in me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and here's the thing. I stand behind everything that's in this program because I've seen it work. This is the exact same training that I would work with my corporate clients on, which is really what inspired me to do this on a larger scale, was that I would see dramatic results with the individuals inside of these organizations. And I thought, it's only a few that are getting to do this. What if we could make this accessible to many more people?
Right.
So instead of having to be a part of an organization that can fork out $50,000 to $100,000 for their 6-person team or whatever, and we work together through this stuff. Yeah. Now it's like, let's create a price point, let's create a program that can give them the same tools and training at a much lower level, so we have an easier barrier to entry.
It's true. It isn't cheap, but it's not nearly as expensive as it could be.
No, it's not. I mean, and here's the thing too. If you don't feel like I deliver on my promise, in 30 days, ask for your money back. I'll give it to you. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, I'm confident this will have dramatic results if you do the work.
Yeah.
And I'll be there. But if you just feel like, no, I disagree. I don't think this is, that you're delivering on what you said. Ask for your money back. No questions asked. I'll give it back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I know, like in my work with marketing and helping with book launches with authors and publishers, like, I have a set fee. It's like $2,500. Some people are like, oh yeah, cool, no problem. Other people are like, wow, that's kind of expensive. And I'm like, it's definitely an investment. Here's what it goes toward.
No.
And I have some colleagues that also do amazing work, but they charge $10,000 a month with a 3-month minimum to do, similar kinds of work. So you're actually scaling what, big corporate clients pay you to do to a custom tailored learning experience that in some ways is more robust, or at least it's more self-paced, where I can really,
in a lot of ways, you're
dive into the
right.
material.
Well, there's more time given to the things that I learned in working with my corporate clients.
Mm-hmm.
I started to realize I was moving them too quickly past the mindset into the tools.
Mm-hmm.
But then, so this course is really taking what I've done in these organizations and going, we need to spend more time here, because that's where the real transformation happened.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it just takes off. But no, you're exactly right. I mean, this is, this isn't a program for everybody. I mean, I think it's really clear. I mean, the goal isn't like, hey, we want to convince everybody to do this, because it's not for everybody.
Right.
I mean, if you're somebody who's looking for, well, I just want a real quick, fast hit, I want to solve a quick problem, this is not the program for you. I mean,
it's way more thoroughgoing.
Yeah, you do get introspective. It is designed in a way that I'm speaking to you like a human, not like an academic or using future speak like we've learned. Mm-hmm. But it requires you to ask tough questions of yourself and really examine who you are, because the outcome and the ability to utilize these skills it's powerful. You know it, I know it. Yeah. And that's the whole point, is do we leave that in the hands of the few, or do we make it more available to the many? But it does take that commitment. And it is. It's not cheap. It's a $2,000 course. But in and of that, so it's it's not.
But it's the way that you're able to be faithful to making this available to a wider audience, while also being faithful to the income that you've invested in all of this training and serving your family.
This is a 15-month ordeal. I mean, and it's not like completely like, hey, listen, I appreciate that, but I really do. This is where the way I look at it is moving from a vocation to a calling for me personally. Designing this program. The calling was, I want to empower people. That's the bottom line. It's all I've ever cared about was the people. And in order to do that, I want to make this. I want somebody to walk away from this program going, "Wow, that was the best experience I've had in an online course ever." And I've taken a ton of them. And studied from some of the best. It's like, look, and you're right. A lot of them are junk, and somebody might think mine's junk. I don't think that is. But the point is that I want somebody to walk away feeling like I got everything I needed. And that's really the goal here too.
Yeah, and I can speak from experience that this is a powerful toolkit. Even though I only completed about half of my 2 to 3 year master's program in Foresight when my oldest was born, those tools really gave me a real edge up in my calling as a writer, in my calling as someone who works with other writers and publishers and movement makers. Sometimes people ask me like, well, Mike, how have you had the measure of success that you've had? And it's like, well, I don't have as many limiting beliefs because I have this toolkit. It's grounded in a reality, but it's a broader vision of reality than what a lot of people are accustomed to. And I really do think that investing in yourself in a course like this does pay dividends, even not only monetarily, but even monetarily, far beyond what we've invested. So.
Oh, absolutely. And you've always had the mind for it too. And I've known this. That's a whole nother session we should do. Is let me tell you stories about Mike. For $19.99, I'll tell you everything you want to know about Mike.
The top secret stories.
No, I appreciate you. I wouldn't have been in this field. Probably never would have heard about it if it wasn't for Mike. So so it's exciting that we're here now.
Well, thanks, Jared, for taking the time today to kind of explain to us what a Foresight mindset could be. What's a simple practice that we can begin to live into our best futures rather than our most diminished and reactionary futures, and telling us a little bit about the Foresight Academy. If you're watching this and this feels compelling to you, if you're like, I want to take a next step, I want to check out the Foresight Academy, go to my website, mikemorrell.org/Foresight Academy. And there you will see ways to take the next steps to dive into this program.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for introducing me to this field.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here without you.
Anytime, bro.
That's good for your ego, isn't it?
Just
Absolutely. Now, in all seriousness, we'd love to have you in the program, and if this is the program for you, then absolutely, let's do it.
Yeah.
Start creating that future.
Yeah, I would love to see you in this program because, like I said, I know how valuable these tools have been in my own life, my own calling and vocation, and frankly, I'm tired of being one of the only weirdos out here. So I hope you join us.
Yeah, that's right. Mike's going to be in the program.
I am. I'm going to take it.
Going through it. So
going to refresh my my own toolkit. So I'll see you there.
Absolutely.